And welcome back, everyone. So I am in a unique position for a change here. I had no actual official videos to do today. Every video I had to do today, which was technically one, I just did. It's pre-recorded for tomorrow. So with a little free time, I figured, why not do a video or two that I've been meaning to do? And I got two Naruto ones to come up with. And then I'll probably get to do some Pokemon ones next time. I know I got to continue on with those. But I had the idea, and a lot of people seem to like the idea of mixing and matching different ships, essentially, to see what the children of those combinations would be like. Obviously, with Boruto, we have the next generation of Naruto. We have, they got, Hinata and Naruto had Boruto Himawari, Sarada is Sasuke, Sakura's child, Metal is Lee's kid, so forth and so on. And as much as I don't care about Boruto that much, I keep track of it, but I don't care about Boruto. What is good about Boruto for something like this is we can actually gauge what the children of these combinations could inherit from their prospective parents. So because there are so many combinations with this will probably be a very long series. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just choose a character. In this case, we're going to start with, the main one, Naruto. And then I'll basically just throw out 5 characters and basically talk about the children that theoretically could come up from those children, from that pairing. And obviously, we'll also talk about, what the characters like Boruto or Sarada or Himawari or Metal or Shikadai, I think it is. That's Shikamaru's son's name. What those characters inherited too, and kind of figure it out from there. So let's just get started. Now, obviously, with Naruto, I am going to start with all the female characters first. But look, I'll also gender bend at some point here. We can look at what if Sasuke was a woman, or Naruto was a woman, whatever, and what if they had a kid. We can look at that too. But to start out with Naruto. We know he has 2 kids, Himawari and Boruto. So what did they get? And his wife is Hinata, who's a Hyuga with a Byakugan. So what did they really inherit from both parents? Well, we know Himawari does naturally have a Byakugan. So she got that from her mom. Boruto didn't get that. He instead got a Jogan. Now, it's not really known how he got it still, as far as I know. It probably has... Some people theorize it's because of the residual, I think, Hamura chakra in Hinata and Hagoromo chakra or Asura chakra in Naruto, creating the Jogan, but whatever. So I don't know if you can really say any other combination of kids could inherit the Jogan. So that's out the window. But Boruto did inherit a wind, I believe a lightning, and a water chakra nature, if I remember correctly, from his parents, which we know actually he got it from the lightning more from Hinata than Naruto, although Naruto does have access to all the elements at this point. But he certainly got his wind from his dad. That would be a hands down given. We also know that Himawari is actually capable of using the gentle fist, that she knocked Naruto out in one shot, including she KO'd both of them. So we know that it was just inherent. Whether or not Hinata was teaching her that, we don't know. She just seemed to figure it out. But the big things we can actually take away from them. First off, we know Naruto was taught Boruto how to use the Rasengan. But the 2 big things we can take away from them in terms of what was actually inherited is that genetically, Himawari is a better Jinchuriki match for Kurama than Naruto. Now, this is probably just because some of his chakra... He's not even sure what happened, but he theorizes, one of the theories at least, is that during their conception, some of his chakra probably made his way in there. So it made her a bit more primed to be a better Jinchuriki for him than Naruto was. So that's one thing that we know any theoretical kid of his could have. But the other thing that we know for certain they can inherit is a relatively large chakra pool for a kid. Now, we're not talking about full-blown Uzumaki chakra levels. That's not happening, no. But Naruto, even without Kurama being an Uzumaki, does have does have insanely large chakra pools. Now, you're going to get the people who say, well, no, they said that he didn't inherit anything special from his parents. Yes, he didn't inherit any of, say, the jutsu of Minato or the intelligence or Kushina's adamantine chains. That's what they mean by that. But Naruto still has a huge chakra pool because he's half Uzumaki. And his stamina to boot. And then Ninetales was just siphoning chakra in there through his seal slowly. We don't know the rate, by the way, that seal did that. And most likely it was on the slow end of the scale. But we know for a fact that Boruto and Himawari do have large chakra pools. Boruto can make up to 3 shadow clones. I think it was like 3 or 4, something like that. Which doesn't sound like a lot when you compare it to Naruto, but remember, he's a genin at that point. A genin making 3 shadow clones and not tiring out like that? That's a very large chakra pool. Even for a kid like that, for that age. Naruto's a freak of nature, really, because of his chakra pool. Like he should not be able to make the thousands of clones he does and just spam them out like he does. That's just not shouldn't be possible. So the fact that Boruto can get away with 3 and still kind of fight, not even kind of, can still fight, is impressive. And we can assume Himawari also has a relatively large chakra pool as well, being half Uzumaki and half Hyuga as well. But we just don't know the actual evidence behind that. So let's get into it and talk a little bit about what if Naruto and Sakura had a child. Well, we know Sarada has the Sharingan inherited from her father, also has the lightning chakra nature to use the Chidori. And we know she copied her mom's strength by using her Sharingan. The problem immediately comes to here, where whatever version of Sarada this would be, or Boruto, they would not have a Sharingan. They would also not have a Jogan. What they would still have, though, is exceptional chakra. Again, probably not, maybe not as large as, say, Boruto's, but just because Sakura's chakra pools were significantly smaller than Sasuke or Naruto's. I'm sure it grew in size after a while, but still. But what could be taught to this child definitely would be healing jutsu. Sakura could make a point of really showing them this, because being Sakura's child and Naruto, who at this point does have perfect chakra control, they would be able to instill very precise chakra control on this kid. So genjutsu or healing arts, probably more healing arts than anything else, would be up this kid's alley. As for chakra elements, I would imagine you'd still probably get the primary win from Naruto, because that seemed to just trump the other elements. But I would think Earth might be the next option, because that's Sakura's dominant element. She learned fire to become an Uchiha. That's like a rite of passage to like be wed into the Uchiha, learn fire release. But yeah, otherwise, I'm not saying that this child couldn't have the enhanced strength that Sakura and Tsunade knows. It just wouldn't be as easily accessible to them. But that's not to say it couldn't happen. So let's just max this kid out to the max. What could this kid actually have? Relatively large chakra pool, possible medical ninjutsu, possibility in genjutsu, though minimal. Probably have at least 2 elements, lightning and earth. Would also have insane strength. I don't think you give this kid the seal of 100. You don't give him that. I don't see that happening. Just because you wouldn't give a kid, again, Sakura didn't get that until the Ninja War. So or after 3 years training with Tsunade after the fact. So I don't see that happening early on. Do you offer a summoning jutsu? My guess would be no, because Boruto didn't have a summoning jutsu. He didn't have a contract with the Toad. So I personally wouldn't go that route, but I wouldn't shame anyone for assuming that. I will also say this: that child might not be as quite as naturally primed, let's say, to be a Jinchuriki for Kurama as Himawari was, because Himawari also does have the advantage of a Hyuga bloodline, which has added benefits as well. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far. But what about, say, the child of Ino in Naruto? Well, now Ino certainly does have some medical ninjutsu she could pass on. You'd still have the elemental releases that Naruto can provide, the relatively large chakra reserve, although I'd argue her reserves might actually be less than Sakura's, though we never really have a good answer to what her chakra levels are. But what you would make up for that in terms of lack of chakra, medical ninjutsu, super strength. You would instead have a combatant who not only can use Shadow Clone Jutsu, Rasengan, you would have someone who also can use the Mind Transfer Jutsu and is an adept sensor. I think the sensor part would be really interesting for this because being able to literally just sense chakra means that if you're going up against, say, like a group of ninja enemies in like a wooded area and they try to hide on you, you can literally sense them out, send clones and just attacks that way, or sense them out, mind transfer jutsu, or mind transfer jutsu. What happened? Ooh, you had shadow clones onto mind transfer jutsu. In theory, you could literally, because what happens when the clone puffs out of existence? There's also the Yamiyaka ability of just taking someone's mind and stealing it in a puppet. We don't know if Ino knows that move or not. There's also the mind destruction jutsu. But what happens if a clone's mind gets put into the person's body and then they poof out of existence? Are they just stuck in there or do they die? My guess is they die, but it's an interesting idea to throw out at least. So yeah, you'd get a more sensory individual, but you could also just use mind destruction jutsu, have it with a mass horde of clones. Say this kid eventually gets enough chakra, they'll just spam him like Naruto and just mind transfer jutsu or mind destruction jutsu an entire army to death. That would actually be pretty bold and pretty nuts. Then we got our next Konoha girl, Tenten, the one and only, the GOAT, if you will. But no, seriously, this is actually interesting. Tenten is a very underutilized character, famously in the series. But what does she actually bring to the table? She's a weapons master, capable of learning any weapon like instantly. So you would be funneling that towards like a Boruto, who would have lightning, probably wind release at least, and solid chakra reserves, which I'll bring that more about that up in just a second. And the ability to just go straight on melee ham with any weapon they get a hold of. That'd be interesting. Also, she's a surprisingly good sealing jutsu. She's not a seal master. She's not Jiraiya or Minato, but she is a seal user because she stores weapons. She does know how to use them. So this kid would also probably have knowledge in seals. But it's that chakra thing I actually want to bring up because I would argue this kid would have equal to or greater chakra than the Boruto we meet in the beginning of the series. Why? Because Tenten, very not subtly, but very not even quietly. What's the word I'm looking for? Tenten actually, it's not brought up very often. Tenten actually has a really huge chakra reserve. She's not like Uzumaki level, but remember, she used the Six Paths weapons, the Elemental Fan. She did it a couple times before she tired out. The amount of chakra that would have to use to do that would be insane. So she actually has really large reserves. That would mean this kid might have equal to or greater reserves than even the Boruto or Himawari we get in the original series. Whether or not she has more chakra than Hinata, that's very debatable. We don't know what Hinata's chakra reserves are either, to be frank. We assume that they're decent. Most clan ninja would have solid enough reserves. But overall, I think it's something that gets slept on is her chakra reserves. So you'd actually have a very unique kid here who's a lot more frontline oriented, can just use any weapon they have, channel probably their elemental chakra into their weapons, and then just be able to span that out for a while. Then you have Mrs. Nara, Tamari. So this kid probably would only have wind release, but it would be a high advanced level of wind release, first and foremost. Also probably have a high chakra reserve. More than anything, though, this kid would probably be a lot smarter because he would inherit their mother's intelligence. I mean, we know the Nara are just genetically gifted in intelligence. Then you add someone who's just as smart as them into the mix, and you get a hyper-intelligent kid. This kid would not be Shikamaru smart, but you're thinking at maybe one or two genius level points down the road. Like, they would still be very intelligent. And Tamari is definitely a taskmaster to boot. So they would also have a really strong routine. You then add shadow clones into a large chakra reserve, a overpowered wind jutsu, element, and you'd have a pretty good long to mid-range fighter in this kid. Now, I don't know if they would learn, say, the Tamari's jutsu with the fan. I really don't think they would, but you never know. So, that kind of runs out the rookie 12, if you will, or the Konoha 12, 13, whatever you will. The kids in that age, around that age, and then in Tamari. But let's throw one more out here. Now, before anyone gets on my case for this, yes, Tsunade and Naruto are way too old, and Tsunade can't really have kids. She's past that age to have kids. But look, there's plenty of ways plenty of people ship them anyway. Just you should be careful what you look online. But you can also let's just do a hypothetical where Tsunade is actually around Naruto's age. I've actually been requested what ifs like that, which eventually I'll get to at some point. So what would a theoretical child between a appropriate age Tsunade and a Naruto look like? This is where we get into some busted territory. Because let's again look at what Naruto brings to the table. Uzumaki level chakra reserve. Whatever the kid is, probably going to be a better type of Jinchuriki for Kurama than Naruto was. He can teach the Rasengan. He can teach elemental jutsu. He can teach the shadow clone jutsu. But what does Tsunade bring to the table? Well, Tsunade almost certainly brings arguably a better chakra control than even Naruto because she has to be a medic. So right out the gate, the kid's probably going to have much better chakra control than what Boruto has. And Boruto has pretty good chakra control. It'd just be better. And she's probably going to be forced to learn medical ninjutsu. Tsunade would almost certainly then stress the usage of her super strength as well. But beyond that, let's not forget that she is a Senju Uzumaki mix. She is Senju Uzumaki, which means this kid is going to have an insanely high chakra pool. Like this would be let's just say it's Boruto. So Boruto. This is going to be the highest chakra pool for Boruto of any of these characters in this video. This we're looking at a Boruto who probably can bring out 10 shadow clones and not flinch. It still wouldn't be able to pull out Naruto's stuff, but Naruto is half Uzumaki because of Minato. I believe Tsunade is the granddaughter, so she's the daughter of the son of the throne. So her father's half Uzumaki, which means she is probably, I believe, like a quarter Uzumaki. So if you do the rough math on that, that means you are getting someone who's a little above 50% Uzumaki. And then you add Senju on that as well, because she's a quarter Senju. So that means you are getting the chakra and vitality of both Uzumaki and Senju thrown into the mix. And because of Hashirama and all the Sage 6 Path stuff, and Naruto having Yin Yang release as well, there's a chance this kid, in fact, would release because of the Senju DNA mixing with that. Now, where would release really comes from is not really known because Hashirama is the only Senju who can use it. But there's a chance this kid could have would release as well. And then you have to factor in the idea that maybe she does teach him down the road how to use the Genesis Rebirth technique. And being a Senju and Uzumaki means this kid is also probably the best option for a Jinchuriki for Kurama for whenever he has to fight and lose the Ishiki down the road using Baryon mode. So yeah, a Tsunade Naruto child would be kind of busted. Yeah, it's because he's also going to have the recovery ability of this Uzumaki and the Senju mixed in there together. Not like just that standard recovery ability, not at Hashirama's level, but you add a little bit of extra chakra in there, probably some excess 6 paths, assuming that's how that Jogan came into being. And yeah, he's not going to be growing limbs, but his recovery rate is going to be insane. So yeah, a Naruto Tsunade kid would be it would be the most busted kid of the 5 we just talked about. But we still got plenty of other characters we can go into down the road. So we'll have to keep our eyes on the prize, and we'll just look into that later down the road for a different part of the series. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. What I'll probably do is next time we do this, I won't focus on Naruto. I'll focus on like Sasuke, and then I'll focus on another character, and after a while, then I'll go back to Naruto. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see more of this series. I'll do a couple more of these. I mean, it doesn't really stop me whether you like it or not, but I hope you like it. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I've got one more video I had an idea for to come out a little later today. So thanks for watching. See you later.